The film opens with the introduction of a man named Mike. At that time he works at a stock company as a marketing personnel. His job is to find people who want to invest in the company. One day Mike gets a lot of praise from the employees as well as his boss Ricky. This is because Mike managed to land a major investor in the company. Afterward, Ricky invites him and the rest of the team to have a meeting with the company owner Mr. Pushka. During the meeting, Ricky suggests that the company should open a new branch to grow faster, but Mike doesn't agree because he thinks the company isn't stable enough yet. After the meeting, Mr. Pushka's assistant, a beautiful woman, expresses her interest in Mike. Later in the day, Mike meets with one of his old investors named Frank. At that time, Frank wants to take back all the money he has invested because he hasn't seen any profit. After a long time, Mike tries to convince Frank to wait a little longer, saying that the profits are coming soon, but Frank is too disappointed and insists on withdrawing his money. After that, Mike went back to the office to transfer Frank's investment money, but he was shocked to find that the account was empty. This confused Mike, so he asked Ricky about it. Ricky said it was probably just a system error and suggested Mike try again the next day. After work, Mike took his wife Judy to his parents' house. Judy is in her late pregnancy and will give birth soon. Mike then met his father in the kitchen and his father congratulated him, saying that Mike would soon be a dad. The next day, Mike asked Ricky again about Frank's money, but Ricky said the system was still down. Instead of solving the issue, Ricky told Mike to go to Los Angeles to meet a potential investor named Denny Slava. Mike didn't want to go because Judy was about to give birth, but Ricky insisted, so he had no choice but to follow order. Later that evening, Mike told Judy that he had to go to Los Angeles for a few days. Judy was upset since she was about to give birth and he was choosing to leave. Mike tried to reassure her by saying that he would get a big bonus when he returned from Los Angeles. Hearing this, Judy reluctantly agreed to let him going. The next day, Mike travels to Los Angeles with his driver and a colleague named Boone. When they arrive, Mike meets Denny Slava. Denny is very welcoming and before discussing business shows off his collection of weapons. Denny then explains that the money he plans to invest isn't in a bank but kept in his shop guarded by his men. Denny tells Mike to go to the shop and take the money, informing his men that Mike has his permission. Without wasting time, Mike heads to the shop accompanied by Boone and the driver. When they arrive, the driver suddenly attacks Denny's men, causing chaos. The driver ends up killing all of Denny's guards and Boone gets injured in the process. Mike is confused and doesn't understand why the driver did this, but he decides to take Boone to the hospital. However, in the parking lot, Boone loses too much blood and dies. Meanwhile, the police surround Mike and arrest him on the spot. Sometime later, Mike meets with his lawyer. The lawyer tells Mike that he has been accused of being involved in the murder of Denny's men. Mike is shocked and insists that it was the driver who did everything and he wasn't part of the fight at all. But the lawyer explains that he can't escape this because the police found his fingerprints on the gun at the crime scene. At that moment, Mike realizes he has been set up by Ricky and Denny. He remembers that he touched Denny's gun when Denny showed off his weapon collection at his house. But now there's nothing Mike can do and he has to face a 6-year prison sentence. Fast forward 6 years. It's finally the day Mike is released from prison. His hair has grown long because he didn't cut it while he was incarcerated. As he leaves the prison, Mike sees his father waiting for him. On the way home, his father tells him that Mike's child has grown up and that they named her Lana. When Mike got home, he was greeted by Judy and Lana. At first, Lana didn't recognize him because he had been in prison since before she was born. But Judy quickly told Lana that Mike was her real father who had just returned from a long job out of town. After hearing this, she hugged Mike that night. Before going to bed, Mike promised himself that he would get back at the people who had framed him. Over the next few days, he focused on taking Lana to school while also planning his revenge. One day, Mike met up with an old friend who was very worried about what had happened to him. The friend felt bad for Mike and decided to give him some money to help him start over. Later that evening, Mike and Judy went to a party hosted by a former co-worker. Ricky was also at the party, but Mike acted like he didn't know that Ricky was the one who set him up. When Mike went to the restroom, he couldn't hold back his anger and felt the urge to confront and kill Ricky. The memories of what happened 6 years ago were too strong, but just as Mike was about to act, a woman stepped in and stopped him. This woman turned out to be Mr. Pushka's personal assistant, Catherine. Catherine told Mike to calm down and promise to help him. In the end, he decided to trust Catherine and followed her to another room. When Mike followed Catherine, she brought him to meet Mr. Pushka. At that moment, Mr. Pushka offered Mike a new job, which was selling illegal weapons. At first Mike refused, but when Mr. Pushka mentioned that this job involved working with Denny, he quickly agreed. Mike wanted to get back at Denny, who along with Ricky had set him up 6 years ago. When Mike got home, he told Judy about the new job and his plan to take revenge on Denny and Ricky. Judy was worried and begged him not to seek revenge, asking him to forget everything instead. She didn't want Mike to get involved with those dangerous people again because she was afraid of losing him. The next day, Mike visited Frank, one of his old investors. There Mike wanted to return some of Frank's investment money using the money his old friend had given him, but instead of being grateful, Frank scolded Mike. Frank had been told by Ricky that Mike had stolen all of his investment money. Mike was shocked and couldn't believe how far Ricky had gone to ruin his life, first by sending him to prison and now by lying to his clients. After that, Mike went straight to Mr. Pushka and accepted the job he had been offered. Mike no longer cared about Judy's warnings because he believed that by taking this job he could get his revenge on Ricky and Denny more easily. After agreeing to the job, Mike traveled to Texas to visit his old friend Randy. There Randy secretly sold illegal weapons while pretending to run a cloth factory. Soon after, Mike asked Randy to partner with him as he had been assigned by Mr. Pushka to buy and sell weapons. Hearing that, Randy agreed and they tested some weapons together. Mike then asked Randy to help him transport all the weapons to Los Angeles, promising to pay him extra. Randy agreed and they set off together. When they arrived in Los Angeles, the weapons deal went smoothly. Mike kept his promise and paid Randy extra. After the transaction, Mike told Randy he could leave since he had plans to meet another friend in Los Angeles. After parting ways with Randy, Mike decided to spy on Denny, who also lived in the same city. Unfortunately, Denny's men caught him and took him to a hidden location. There Denny was waiting for him, already aware that Mike wanted revenge. Denny warned Mike that seeking revenge wouldn't be easy, especially against powerful people like him. Then Denny ordered his men to kill Mike, but just as they were about to, Randy showed up and shot Denny, saving Mike. Mike quickly thanked Randy and then decided to return to his hometown. When Mike got back, he told Mr. Pushka that he had killed Denny because Denny and Ricky were the ones who had set him up. However, Mr. Pushka was angry, saying that Mike's actions were none of his concern and that Denny's death would hurt their weapons business. Mr. Pushka then told Mike to leave and never come back. That night, while Mike was at home, he noticed a car parked outside watching his house. Soon after, Mike approached the car and managed to confront the person inside, who turned out to be someone sent by Ricky. There Mike forced the man to take him to Ricky. Once they arrived at a parking lot, Mike knocked the man out and then went inside to confront Ricky. Shortly after, a fierce fight broke out, but in the end Mike managed to defeat Ricky. The next day Mike was finally relaxing, feeling relieved that his revenge was complete. Suddenly news of Ricky's murder spread on TV and Judy quickly realized that Mike was the one who did it. Judy became angry because she knew that Ricky's men wouldn't just let this go and they would come after Mike at their house. In her anger and fear, Judy told Mike to leave the house immediately. After leaving, Mike went to his father's house and told him that he needed to hide there for a while, but not long after, a group of unknown people attacked them. Mike's father was killed in the fight, but Mike managed to fend off the attackers and escape. Shortly afterwards, Mike held a funeral for his father. During the ceremony, Judy came to offer her condolences. She then told Mike that Mr. Pushka and his men had come to her house the night before. He threatened to kill both Judy and Lana if Mike didn't surrender to him. At this point, Mike realized that Mr. Pushka was the mastermind behind everything, including his father's death. Judy then told Mike that she was planning to take Lana far away and asked him never to contact them again that night. Feeling frustrated, Mike tried to forget his problems by getting drunk. Then he remembered Catherine's promise to help him. Soon after, Mike went to Catherine's house. When he got there, he reminded Catherine about her promise to him at the party. Catherine, who had always liked Mike, agreed to help him right away. Catherine then contacted Mr. Pushka and lied, telling him that she had captured Mike. She asked Mr. Pushka to come to her house immediately. This was all part of a plan she and Mike had drafted up. Soon after, Mr. Pushka arrived at Catherine's house with one of his men. Mike was ready and waiting, and without wasting any time, Mike killed Mr. Pushka. A few days later, Mike and Catherine are seen as a couple, officially dating. They also took over Mr. Pushka's company, and the movie ends. Thanks for watching. See you next time.